Alrighty guys, so let's take a look at the first lab here. What it wants us to do is get a radius of a circle from the user. Then we need to calculate the diameter, the circumference, and the area of a circle. We're going to print the diameter with 1 place after the decimal, the circumference with 2 places, and the area with 3 places after the decimal. All right, and then we have the formulas are given right up here. So let's get started. Anytime you start a new program, you're going to open idle, and before anything else, you have to go to File, New File. Do not code here in the shell. It will be wrong. It's not something that you can run again if you type it in the shell. All right, so you need to go to File, New File before anything else. Let's go ahead and save it. You need to save it as the name. This is going to be, I believe, P2, Lab 1. And you will put your last name and your first name. All right, so we are here now. You need to put your comment block at the top. Like always, you'll have the name, the date, the assignment name, right? And you will have the assignment description. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and tell you guys. In this one, it's going to be about using math expressions, right? And let's get started. First things first, we need to get the radius from the user. So let's go ahead and put a comment in here. You should be putting comments throughout your code to reiterate what it is that the code is actually doing. All right, we want to get this radius from the user. And if you look back here at the example, the user is going to enter something like 8.75. And if you remember, our numeric data types are integer or float. And the integer is a whole number, and the float allows decimals. So since we're going to be able to accept a decimal number, we need to convert the input to a float. So let's go ahead and create a variable. I'm going to call it radius, and I'm going to convert whatever input the user gives me into a float. And I'm going to say enter the radius. All right. Perfect. So now we need to do the calculations. And we're going to calculate the circumference, the diameter, and I believe there was one more. Let's take a look. Diameter, circumference, and the area. All right, so let's start with the circumference. I'm going to create a variable, and I'm going to come back over here, and we need to see what the formula is. So for the circumference, it is going to be 2 times pi times the radius. All right, so let's go back to our code, and let's go ahead and type that in. 2 times. Now, there's a couple things you can do here to get the value for pi. I'm going to show you guys the easiest way to do it. I'm going to import a math module. All right, so once I put that import statement at the top of my code, I can use some different functions that are specific to that math module. And one of them is to say math.pi. So instead of typing in a value for pi, that's going to automatically use the value for pi. So we don't have to type it in and give it a value, right? And the circumference was 2 times pi times the radius. Nice. So let's do the diameter next. The diameter, its formula should be 2 times the radius. All right, so we come back over here. We are going to use our radius variable, 2 times radius. All right, and last but not least, we've got to calculate the area. And if we come back over here, we can see that the area is calculated by the expression pi r squared. All right, so let's do it. We come back, we will use the math.pi times. Now we need to square the radius. There's a couple different ways of doing it. You could do radius times radius, right? That'll square it for you. Or you could say radius to the second power. All right, remember that this represents an exponent, and this is the base of the exponent, and this is the actual value that you are raising this 2, right? So this would be radius to the second power. All right. Now what we need to do is we need to display the results. All right, we're going to use F strings for this. So my first print statement needs to say the diameter of the circle is, and then we're going to give the diameter with 1 place after the decimal. Right? So let's say the diameter of the circle is, and now we're going to print our variable that actually represents the diameter. Remember that since I'm using an F string, I have to put the variable name in the curly braces. All right, and I want to print 1 place after the decimal, so I need my formatting in there. And if you remember, this says, hey Python, get ready. I want you to put a decimal, and I want only 1 place after the decimal, and this is a float value that we are formatting. All right, I'm going to do the same thing for the next one. It's going to also be an F string, and the output needs to say the circumference of the circle is, we give the value with 2 places after the decimal. All right, so the circumference, hopefully I spelled that right, of the circle is, once again, we're printing a variable, so we need our curly braces, and we call that variable CIR for circumference, and we want 2 places after the decimal this time. All right, so we put a colon dot 2F. And last but not least, we need to print out the area of the circle. So let's say the area of the circle is, and we're going to put some curly braces because now we're going to print our variable that actually holds the value for area. We named it area, and this time we want 3 places after the decimal. All right, so let's give this a run and test it out, and let's see how it looks. All right, enter the radius. So I'm going to follow the example here. I'm going to put 8.75, and if I put that number in, these should be my values for the output. All right, let's give it a run. 8.75. We'll type that in. All right. And let's take a look at our values here. This does have 1 place after the decimal. This has 2, and this has 3, which is exactly what we want. Now let's make sure the numbers are right. All right, perfect. If you take a look at the values, they are the same. All right, so that's how you do that one.